Welcome to the Gems Podcast with Shom, a show about beat digging, records, and other things. Today, I'm joined by Skeme Richards, a DJ, heavy funk 45 specialist, collector of dope artifacts, the nostalgia king, or as I call him, the most interesting man in the world, aka international man of mystery, aka James Bond of record digging. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Yo, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right. All right. You're such a deep wealth of music knowledge. You're a celebrator of culture, whether it's beat digging, kung fu movies, blaxploitation films. You're a very, very high level DJ. And we've been scheduling to have you on for a few weeks. And I had the pleasure of meeting you in Toronto at CreatorCon.
Yeah.
And we got to speaking for a little bit, and I knew that we would have a great conversation. I was even more excited after speaking to you. You're such a positive person and always kind of supporting the people around you. I knew we'd have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Appreciate that. So something's always been in the water in Philadelphia. When I think about music history, 60s, 70s, funk, soul, R&B, going into the 80s and 90s with hip hop and continuing on today. It's always been such a cultural center of music and really everything. You grew up in Philadelphia. Tell me about the sounds and the scenes that shaped you.
Well, like Philly being, a primarily Black city, and at one point in the 5 largest cities in America, there was a lot of culture here. There was a lot of, political, social, music, art, culture, and being Philadelphia International Records, major label, MFSB, Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and Blue Notes, Gamble and Huff. The culture of music and Black culture in general was just so strong, in Philly. And you could feel that all across the city. It's a very blue collar, hardworking city. Sports teams the fans are diehard. There's nobody like Philly. There's no other city like Philly, and I would see and hear culture all around me from, being in elementary school, riding the school bus, and my school bus teacher used to have an 8-track, and he would play Philly International Records. He would play Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. I would hear a lot of Teddy Pendergrass. So, culturally, there was so much culture in Philly. And then, growing up, parents, grandparents, always records. Grandparents had jazz, gospel. Parents had disco, funk, soul, jazz. So music was all around culturally. Graffiti, Philly's like the birthplace of, graffiti as we know it, writing on the walls. So there was just tons of culture in Philly.
I find people from Philly are, as you described, very cultured, and they have their own style, whether it's even the rappers today who have a certain type of slang, even a certain cadence, a way of speaking, and going back in history through all the great R&B artists you mentioned. It's a unique place. I feel like it's giving you a great place to grow your taste.
Yeah, well, they say if you can make it in Philly, you can make it anywhere, right? So, Philly's a very tough critic city, even on its own artists. We're already like that with our sports teams, but with our own artists, you kind of have to make it outside of Philly to be appreciated and respected back in Philly. You might be respected here, but like you really have to leave to make it. But this is where it hones your skills, like it's a tough crowd. So being able to rock the crowd here or do something in front of a crowd here, it prepares you for going around the rest of the world, because then it just seems like a walk in the park, where else you go, So yeah, Philly's Philly.
I think it's a good way to look at it. It's certainly got its tough side, and it's unique. It makes so many great artists, musicians coming out of there. And I feel like some of that atmosphere helps make people better. If you can make it out, helps make you better.
And that's the thing, you have to make it out. And the crazy thing is, we're so close to New York. We're like an hour and a half drive away from New York. So a lot of what was going on in New York was going on in Philly at the same time. The difference is we're doing similar things at the same time, but Philly's always putting its own spin on what we do. So disco, that's Philly. That's Philly all day. Disco, the Earl Young, the 4/4 on the floor, that's Philly. So we presented a lot of things. The way DJs turn the turntables to the side, that's Philly. They call it battle style, but it's Philly style or DJ Cash Money style, because DJ Cash Money was the first one to turn his turntables to the side, as what hip hop DJs are known for. So there's a lot of stuff that came out of Philly, you know, culturally and just around the world.
Those kind of facts are why people like this show. So keep it coming. So let's go back to that battle style, cash money style, the world of DJing. I mean, it's a place known for music, place known for DJing.
Hmm.
And you are a vet DJ. You play around the world. You've played through different eras and phases of music. You might be a funk specialist, but you're also a hip hop guy. You know your stuff, you know your background, right? So tell me about when you started DJing in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So for me, I started DJing. I just moved to the new neighborhood. I used to live in West Philly, and then I moved to like Upper West Philly, which is known as Winfield. And Winfield is like where Will Smith's from. Across the bridge is where Steady B's from. Under the bridge is where Schoolie D's from. So it's like the triangle,
Wow.
you know, where my neighborhood is. So we always had like some of the best DJs, best MCs. Um, so I just moved to a new neighborhood. This is 81. And a lot of the kids that I was hanging out with, their older brothers was DJs. So we would go to their house after school and practice, right? Not even though we shouldn't have been on their equipment, but we would go and practice. So that was my first time being able to touch turntables. Prior to that, it was block parties. I'm seeing DJs at block parties. My older cousin Junie was a DJ. So I'm seeing DJs all around, but it wasn't until 81 where it's like, okay, I'm hanging with my 10-year-old and 11-year-old friends, and we're DJing. And, from there, it was like I had my first schoolyard battle, and first time this has ever happened, last time it's ever happened, I lost,
Okay.
right? And back then, we used to battle for crates of records, or we would battle for equipment. So I lost my little crate of records that first battle, so that kind of shows you how hip hop was. Hip hop was real. It was raw back then, and then fast forward, it's just like I did my first elementary school party in 85, and it was just an uphill trajectory since.
Tell me about this battle. I mean, it sounds like a movie scene.
Hmm.
Firstly, I am a big fan of battle DJing, always.
Hmm.
Now, in 1981, I mean, it's such an early stage, right? Even anything early 80s, it's a massively early stage of DJing, also early stage of technology. I mean,
Hmm.
right? We have totally different mixer setup. How were you guys battling? Was it the songs you played, your sound system, or something else?
No, it was songs we played and technical abilities. Because you figure at 11 years old, 10 years, 11 years old, we're bringing out speakers out of the house. We don't have big stacks of speakers. We're not building speakers. Some of us was building speakers because we had older brothers who taught us. But for the most part, it was like you had your Radio Shack speakers, or you had your whatever speakers. So you're bringing them out into the schoolyard, which was BWAP schoolyard. So you come out there, and basically you would just take turns, like who's rocking and cutting the best, and I was one of the ones that lost, you know. But
I think that's amazing.
it
I
you know
think it's amazing. I mean, you took that L as a 10-year-old. People take a lot of L's in their life. And now when I watch you, I mean, you're technically very advanced. Not everyone expects people playing funk and soul to be so advanced. It's like you're taking your hip hop skills and applying it into music that's really quite different. So
and
it's a unique take on it.
that's exactly what it is. I mean, because I'm a hip hop kid, right? But when I started playing funk 45s in like 2001, 2002, and I started really getting into playing funk and soul, that hip hop side of me translated into playing funk and soul in a way that most people who come in playing funk soul, they don't do, and I never really paid attention to it, or even thought anything about it until I went to Japan, and a lot of DJs would be like, "Yo, we love your style. Your style is like it's really rough," and because they're used to seeing DJs play, and it was like I'm bringing stuff in, and it was a certain way. It was like a hip hop style without cutting and scratching, but it was just something really raw about it. So yeah, so that just translated into playing funk soul. But when I play disco, I'm playing different. I'm playing disco in a totally different, smoother fashion. You know.
Yeah. It's a really sophisticated style because you're rocking a crowd, yet you're still showing a lot of complex skills,
Hmm.
but you're not overdoing it. Like you have the right kind of level where people can enjoy it on multiple ways.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the other thing. So as a DJ coming from a hip hop era, by the time I'd say the mid '90s rolled around, I was kind of over the cutting and scratching, and because I was doing production, I was sampling a lot, but I was over the super duper technical abilities because I was enjoying the music even more. Fast forward to late '90s, early 2000s, now I'm really not caring about the super duper technical abilities because I want to hear music from the records. I don't necessarily need it distorted, rock doubles here and there, but I don't need the extra because now I'm in Soul Train mode. I'm back in the '70s where I'm like, yo, I want people to enjoy this music and I want people to dance to this music. I don't want it to be taken away by me showcasing how good I am cutting and scratching because that's not what when I see Soul Train or if I see James Brown's Future Shock or you go to the discos, that's not what's going on.
I think it's great. I mean, you have a really unique style and you formed it over time. I mean, being original is something that I really celebrate. I think it's really important in this world. It sometimes gets lost in the modern world of music. And when I see someone have a unique style, I mean, you explained the reasons of how it developed. It's really hot. So I think it's good that you have your own way. You're not trying to be someone else, right? You're
Right.
being your own style. All right. So it's almost like I'll describe this because you grew up in the world of music and the time that you did, and the world of DJing, Philadelphia. You're against this backdrop where, yeah, you're going backwards and finding older records, but you're digging from the beginning, like from the start. And in fact, stuff was coming out that people are digging for decades later.
Hmm. I mean, for me, that's what the DJs are supposed to do. DJs are supposed to make and break records, right? You should be able to combine the old with the new. And, like I'm still putting the world up on new releases that will eventually become the future digs of tomorrow, right? So I'm just connecting the dots. And there's records that, I might have slept on 20 years ago. That might have been a classic 20 years prior, but I always make sure I do the homework and I go back and I get all of those records that was then, and those club classics and those disco classics because you're taking people on a journey. It's the musical journey. It's the voyage, and a lot of records get slept on. A lot of records get overly played, and I try to bring that balance of leaving the overly played ones home and introducing the other ones to the crowd because everything is a new thing to someone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Takes a lot of knowledge and maybe observation of cycles, right?
Hmm.
Over years. And I think that's super cool. So we talked about your early stages. I mean, very early stages, right? Tell us about your journey from DJing with your friends, maybe outside, to working on production and DJing out in nightclubs in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah. So let me just state that I never wanted to become a professional DJ. That was never my agenda, right? Because DJing was just culturally, it was just something that I always did when I came home from school, right? It wasn't something that where I was like, oh, I want to do this professionally. What I wanted to do was produce and make beats more so and get record deals. That was more so. But the DJing was like, oh, this is what I do. I come home from school and I DJ. And, granted, I've had equipment in my house, drum machines since like '84. I've had Dr. Rhythms, I had 727s and stuff like that over the years. Um, but I never wanted to become a professional DJ, right? So, but the DJing thing is taking me around the world to the point where I went from elementary school, right? And then into the 90s doing parties in Philly and doing shows because I also rhyme. So like me and my OG Freddie Blast, we used to have a group called Session 31. So maybe he's rhyming, maybe I'm rhyming, he's DJing, but we're producing, you know. So you go to the 90s and now here I am, I'm DJing for groups. I'm DJing for Bahamadia for a little while. Production wise, I produced for MF Doom on the Venomous Villain 2 album, you
Oh
know. So
wow, I
yeah,
didn't know
so
that.
yeah, under he had a song called Rap Game on the VV2 album. So it's like I've done a lot of things, but it's always been those things where I don't even talk about what I did in the past because I'm still doing things in the present. You know, a lot of people live off of, oh, I did this in 1990. 1990, I was enjoying life. 1990, I'm at every club in New York, you know, and I'm DJing in Philly. I'm not really DJing in New York, but I'm DJing in Philly, you know, and I'm doing parties and but I'm focused on production because production was the thing that I was like, oh, this is going to make me money. This is going to give me longevity, you know. But DJing is money right now. You know, records is money later. So,
Yeah, it's an interesting game to observe over time. There was a time in the 90s where production, hip hop production, the type that we're talking about, was a well-paid job.
mhm,
It's maybe less now. And I'm not saying that people don't do well, but it's just a very different game. There's more music. You're probably better off being an artist in some way, even as a maybe making like instrumental beats. It's just a totally different game, let's just say,
yeah,
than it was.
mhm,
And now DJs also have changed a lot, right? There are many more DJs. Definitely, anyone could say they're a DJ now. There are only some that are flown around the world to do this.
yeah, and
It's
that's what but see, that's what separates DJs. I mean, the one thing that separates DJs is their records, right? Because not every DJ has the same records in their collection. That's why I like playing straight vinyl, right? Because what I have is what I have, right? And I only have this. Playing digital, you can hear something and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go download that song," and now you're playing my song that you found out from me. You didn't go buy it, you downloaded it, you know. So that separates DJs. Their crates and their ability to travel with those crates across the globe and play for you know people around the world.
Firstly, I'd say I agree with you, but I'd also say not everyone has always cared about that. That's what I also say. It's not like it was always celebrated. It happens to be in the past few years. I mean, we're in a cycle where this is widely celebrated. This is
Right.
a great thing. People love vinyl, right?
Hmm.
And good thing you had your own style the whole time. You're in a new wave, right?
Yeah.
So I like to see that. I mean, just as a guy who has a podcast about beat digging, I'll tell you, people like vinyl more than they did a few years ago. I'm happy to be around for that.
Hmm.
Good thing we're collectors, right? So,
Exactly. Exactly.
all right. Now you said a lot. I want to touch more on a couple items. You mentioned production. You mentioned DJing for Bahamadia, which she was a great artist. I really liked her work. She had I thought a great album and also many good features. And she was also quite unique. She had her own style, which I really respect. And around that time, there was a lot of good music. I think DJ Premier was, I mean, he had a very long run of being at the top. He
Hmm.
was in a very good zone at that point, maybe my favorite around then.
Right.
Tell me about what you observed. Did you go on tour with her? Tell me about your kind of life at that time.
So at that time, I was, you know, I was heavy on the production side of things. Um, and you know, Bahama, like you said, she's unique. Like there's nobody like her. She's one of the thoroughest MCs, male or female, to ever grab the mic. You know, and what a lot of people don't know is she started as a DJ, and she's dope. She's dope as a DJ.
I had no
And
idea.
yeah, so you know, we recorded a lot of songs. Me and my OG Freddie Blast, we recorded a lot of songs with her. And the crazy thing is, we was going to start a group, right? all three of us rhyming and all three of us DJing. And she was going to use the name Carol Speed. And for those that don't know, Carol Speed is the actress from the Blaxploitation movie Abby. But she played in, like, Carol Speed played in other Blaxploitation, but she's known for being in Abby. So she was going to use the name Carol Speed, you know. So it's funny how that works. But yeah, she's dope. You know, we did some great shows together. Um, you know, and her catalog was tough.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think she's ever put out a bad record.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh, yeah, she was a very good artist. She did quite well. I mean, I think rap was just less big
hmm
than it is now. But I mean, as far as relative popularity, she was very popular.
yes, yes, and her shows were incredible. She knew how to rock the crowd. She knew how to control the crowd. She was just always on point. So you know, it was at that time. It was like a lot of production, um, just just traveling and but it was still it always came back to I was a homebody and I loved being home because I love being in my lab working on music, you know, and taking my daily trips to go dig for records and dig for VHS tapes and comic books, you know, because that's honestly that's what's kept me young all these years is my love of things, of love of collecting, you know, and that's what's kept me young all these years. So, and I've done that since the beginning of time.
It's cool because now you've always collected things, items,
hmm
records, other things, and now you have the artifacts.
hmm
And as time goes on, tangible things seem to be getting a little bit more appreciated in this digital world.
Yeah, and I didn't set in for it to be like a, you know, oh, this is going to be worth something. No, this is just what I did. This is what I've always done. I've always collected since childhood, you know. And now, like you said, now these things have become the artifacts. A lot of these things are sought after. People want these things. Like, you know, there's value to these things. But I just looked at it as like, oh, this is what's keeping me young. This is what's making me happy.
All right. So I'm going to jump around. Maybe this is not in chronological order, but there is a few things I want to ask about.
hmm
Tell me about Rocksteady Crew.
Rock City Crew, greatest b-boy crew in history. Started in '77, Bronx, New York. Jimmy D, Jimmy Lee, president, vice president, eventually taken over by Crazy Legs, the legendary b-boy who became the president of Rock City Crew, um, which I had the pleasure of joining in the early 2000s and being a, you know, probably the best DJ in years for the crew, or at least like the most notable DJ in the crew, you know, at that time because I was like traveling all around the world because of that, you know, um, and it was an honor to be in Rocksteady, you know, so it's definitely influential hip hop icon group. You know, there's not many, but Rocksteady's an iconic group.
They're an iconic crew for sure. And they also, I mean, they celebrated a lot of different parts of hip
hmm
hop, DJing culture, music itself, graffiti, and of course, breakdancing at the center. So it must have been a real cool experience for you to be around that.
Well, you think when you think about it, how many crews, graffiti crews or MC crews or DJ crews celebrate the culture as a whole? Not many, right? Rocksteady celebrated everything. Rocksteady was the culture. So when you went to Rocksteady anniversary in the early '90s, you was going to see the graffiti artists. You was going to see b-boys. You was going to see the live performances. You were going to see the DJ, hear the DJs. Like so, they celebrated culture. And Rocksteady might actually be the only crew that's ever done that and celebrated culture fully on that scale. You know, they celebrate it on a large scale. And when you have that reputation as being somebody like Crazy Legs, people will jump on board and do things with you.
Yeah, for sure. They really brought up a lot of people too. So I think that's interesting because there's been times when graffiti art is the most important thing and the coolest thing, and there's times when it's less,
hmm
and they're celebrating all parts of the culture. That's their
Yes.
interest.
Yes. So, and speaking of Rocksteady, the very first hip hop tour that left New York, Rocksteady was on,
That's
right? So
great.
the very first hip hop tour, the flyer was done by Was a phase tour Future. Future did the flyer.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
so it was first tour, like that was the first tour. So they were ahead of everyone on every level.
So yourself, you're DJing for them. This is early 2000s, right?
Mhm.
Are you mostly doing this in the Philadelphia, New York area? Are you moving around?
No, I'm global. So before I got Rocksteady, I was already traveling. I was already doing b-boy jams around the world. When I got into Rocksteady, it kind of just gave me that much more exposure to do other events, right?
Okay.
With that name. Because one thing Crazy Legs always told me, he was like, yeah, you're already doing it, but let this Rocksteady name take you even further, And I was like, okay, because I never wanted my first name to be Rocksteady. I always wanted to be Skeme Richards and then Rocksteady. A lot of people join things and they let the crew or whatever push them, their associations push them further. For me, it was like, no, I'm getting around the world on my own accolades.
I think that's an interesting way to do it because we talked a little bit about in person about this, about relationships and traveling around the world, which is something you do extensively,
Hmm.
right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. You travel at this point in time, you travel all over the world throughout various places. I mean, I'll let you say where. And you've built these relationships over time. Tell us, how did that start?
So when I started really, really traveling, 2004, I was working at BMW at the time, right? I worked from BMW from 2000 to 2012 and just traveling at the same time. But I was meeting people during those travels, right? So, like, say I would meet a promoter, I would do their event, they would put me on to somebody else, or another promoter would be there and they'd be like, I need you for my event, right? But that happens here and there. That doesn't happen every time. But in the same time, I was meeting other DJs in those cities or countries who might not have been on, right? But they were doing things. They were the little guys in the scene. But those little guys were the guys that would be like, yo, I want to do a tour for you in my city, or I want to put you on a couple clubs in my city, right? So I started working with the little guys to build my reputation because the little guys didn't play politics. It was just like, we respect what you do. You're a cool dude. I want you to come to Germany and I'll set the clubs up and I'll set the money up and we could just do this. I'll open for you and we can just do this. Right. So I did that Amsterdam, I did that the UK, I did that Germany, I did that Switzerland. Working at BMW, I could afford to set my tour up and fund my tour, right? Plus make money and come home. So I never lost money. Some days I broke even, other days I made. But it was that BMW, the fact that I had a 9 to 5, that I could afford to fund my own tours, which is what I think a lot of people don't do, is take that investment in themselves to be like, I'm gonna take this hard-earned money and put it back into what I'm doing creatively.
I think it's really impressive. It's such a story. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you took a risk, right?
Hmm.
But just talking to you now and talking to you before, you believe in what you do. You have these interests,
Hmm.
and over time, in different phases of life, you're finding ways to make the most of it in
Right.
different ways, different mediums, and different countries. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And I've heard a lot of DJs over the years. So I say, "Oh, I'm never getting a day job. Oh, I'm never. I'm going." They have to be DJing, right? But then a lot of them are playing music that they don't want to play, that they don't really like, but it's the paycheck. I never wanted this to be a day job. It's still not a job for me. This is the hardest part is going to the airport. Everything else is fine, right? This is not a job for me. you know? And so I never looked at it like, oh, I'm never getting a day job. Because guess what? If I have to go back and get a part-time job, I'll go back and get a part-time job. It's whatever, you know. But I went to work a 9 to 5 to buy a house, right? When other people are trying to buy a house off of DJ money or renting an apartment off of DJ money. I went to work and bought a house, and now DJing just maintains the house. It's already paid for. I own my home, right? So now DJing just pays your electric and your water, right? But I took the opposite route from what a lot of other artists want to do. I never wanted to be a starving artist or struggling artist, so I had to make sure my priorities was in order financially, and that's product of my grandfather, because my grandfather was always like, "Yo, own something." He always told me own something, and he always says, make sure you, if you can't afford to buy it twice, don't buy it once. So I had to make sure.
I think it's cool. I think it's very unorthodox, and I think you made it work. And you never know. Someone might be listening like, hey, maybe I'll borrow part of that from my life. Maybe it'll inspire them to think one way or the other. And
Hmm.
you're making it work. I mean, you, you're on a really good high right now.
Hmm.
And not everyone from that generation is seeing the opportunity like you are. I think that goes for anything. That's not just music. That's just
Yeah,
life, right?
that's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think also I'm unique. When people, I'm the nostalgia king, so people know me for multiple different things. So I feel like that also plays a part in what I'm doing, because when you think about it, people know me for DJing. Yes, they know me for collecting. They also know me as the film guy. You know, because it's like, yo, I'm scoring these movies. I'm doing, like, I just did the Germany tour back in June, where it's like theaters are like, okay, we want to put you in here. What do you want to screen? And so we did three cities, three theaters. We did Shaft, we did Mystery of Chess Boxing, and we did the Italian crime classic Caliber 9.
Okay.
Right, so I'm live scoring all 45s to the films, putting the soundtrack that I want to hear to those films. So people know me for that. So now I'm getting booked for that, and that actually started probably 2015, maybe 2014, where I was doing another Germany tour, and I had the opportunity to present a couple films at the theater. And they were like, "Do you want to host films?" And I was like, and this wasn't even scoring. This was just like, they knew this is the guy that loves blaxploitation and exploitation films. And, so I did Hell Up in Harlem and uh, Master of the Flying Guillotine. So I'm getting booked for different reasons and different things, because people just know, like, oh, he's into this. Let's book him. So yeah, I'm the unique. I'm the anomaly when it comes to this.
Well, you're the nostalgia king. We're talking about old, older things. I mean, I'm an analog guy, but
Hmm.
you're applying these things in new ways, quite new ways, right?
Hmm.
And you're putting things together for new audiences. And I think there's always opportunity if you look for it, right? So I think that's something I always try to think about. Not, I mean, I already naturally think about it this way, but on this show, I meet people oftentimes doing new things in new ways, borrowing from history and finding those patterns, like new opportunities. And that's what you're doing. And I think it's great for all of us to see it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because it's just the nerdy side of me. It's like all these things that I love, I do. Like, I tell people, I'm the Tarantino of the DJ world, right? Because Tarantino, he's into the film, but he's in the kung fu films, he's in the westerns, he's in the blaxploitation. So I'm like the Tarantino of the DJ world, mixed with RZA, you know. So it's just all these things go hand in hand, and it makes me more than just, oh, he's a DJ. People can relate to multiple things. I mean, we had a comic book called Kadoja Terror Mountain Show now, which we, debuted at New York Comic Con 10 years ago. So my hand is in multiple different things.
You're the nostalgia king. That
Yeah.
means many things. We both share a fascination with Anthony Bourdain. What does his influence mean to you?
Everything, because he didn't show me how to travel the world, but he showed me how to enjoy the world, right? 'Cause, like, I would go places, I would enjoy it, but it was him that when I watch his shows, he taught you, like, be a local, be a local. I know a lot of artists, they go, they do the show, they get paid, they local. I'm hanging with the locals. I'm a local, I'm trying to eat where the locals eat, hang out, sleep, I'm trying to be at the bar with the locals because that's the experience. For me, every opportunity to play a gig in a different country or city, it's the opportunity to be a local and to experience that because the experience is priceless. I get flown to play places that people don't even go to vacation at, or they would pay to go vacation at.
Hell
So
yeah.
with Bourdain, I mean, he there was no one like him. Now we've got all these food influencers and oh yeah, here, but they were none of those people are chefs. None of those people work in the kitchen. Like Bourdain knows the travel and food. So yeah.
Let's touch on that more because
Mhm,
I think like living in that world for a minute is appealing to our listeners.
mhm,
Let's talk about some of the places. You mentioned Germany.
mhm.
Take us around the world. I know you spent some time in Asia. Does anything stand out to you? A feeling, a scenario, a place you've been that you think is especially appealing?
So for me, like I've been Germany, I've been Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan, Switzerland, Amsterdam, UK, Ethiopia, uh, Finland. Like I've been around the globe. The only place I haven't touched down in really is Australia yet, but that's coming, right? Um, Japan's always an amazing place for me culturally. It had not even music, just culturally. That's my place. That's my second home. That's my peaceful place. I know a lot of people want to go to Japan. They're like, "Oh, it's records and blah blah blah." That's not why I wanted to go to Japan. Japan was cultural for me, right? Um, as a kid who grew up on anime in the 70s. Anime is like mainstream now, but like anime in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I remember in the 90s, kids that like anime got picked on, right? Not everyone likes anime. Netflix, like everybody likes anime. But culturally, Japan for me was just a place, food wise, people wise, the appreciation of culture, of Black culture specifically. Um, that was just it. But I also love going to Korea. Korea was another place that it was just like, yo, it's amazing. The appreciation for what I do, the fan base for what I do out there. Uh, Finland, beautiful. Summertime, there's records in Finland. It always comes back,
Really?
still comes back to records. Like there's records in Finland, but like I've been around the globe and I used to set up gigs depending on is there a record show or record store in that city? Is it good beer in that city? And do they have good burgers? Because I'm the burger king,
Okay.
right? So me and my homie, why not? We actually started a quest to have the best burger in the 50 states. But then it turned to the best burger in the world. So we would just travel and book gigs depending on where we wanted to go, have a burger, right? So it's just I've been all these places. So I would book on burgers, records, and also film historical relevance because I like all of the World War II movies from the 70s, Where Eagles Dare, Kelly's Heroes, all those movies. So I would go to Germany to do parties because I wanted to see the certain cities that these movies took place in. Like there's a movie called Bridge Over Remagen where um, we were on tour and we were on a train riding from one city to the next city. And my homie Scares, who does the tour for me, he would book gigs according to the cities of movies that I liked. So we're on the train ride, and he's like, "Yo, you know the movie you like, Bridge Over Remagen? There's the bridge,
Sick.
right?" So for me, everything is cultural. For me, everything is historical. So I want to be able to say like, "Oh, I went to the city where this movie was supposed to be filmed at," because those are the stories.
You're inspiring me. Firstly, you're reminding me there's more movies I have to watch, right? I
Hmm.
have to check those ones out. And I think you're crafting incredible and interesting life out
Hmm.
of music and what interests you. Film, everything,
Right.
anime, artifacts, everything. I think that's fantastic. Going back to Bourdain, I think I like what you said. I think a lot of our listeners, it will resonate with them. I find him a character that I always go back to because he wasn't the best chef in the world. He was a chef. He often said he wasn't the best in the world, but he was a true storyteller. And he borrowed from his background as a writer, and he told stories of his favorite chefs. And it inspires me. I'm not the number one beat digger on earth. I got a lot of records, less than many, more than some, but I kind of look at this inspiration as like, how can I train myself as a storyteller to bring up all the great people that I meet and that I am fans of who are beat diggers, DJs, producers, or just record lovers? And can I tell their story? So he's such an inspiration to me, plus the travel, plus the just life experience. I think it's fascinating.
It's the stories. I'm telling you, it's the stories, it's the travel, it's the like because we hear a lot of travelers, artists, whatever, and they kind of tell the same story over and over. And the stories never seem personal. It just seems like stories you hear all the time, right? My stories, I want them to be personal. I want them to be unique. When I write a book, I want you to be like, yo, I never knew that, or I never knew that about you, or I never knew that about that country, because to me, that's what it's supposed to be about because not everyone has a passport. So I want to take people on a journey, even if they don't have a passport. The same way I tell people, I was going to Japan before I had a passport. I was going to Germany before I had a passport. I was going to the UK before I had a passport. People are like, well, what do you mean? How are you doing that? Because I watched all of these samurai films as a kid in the early 80s that took me to Japan. I watched all of these spy movies and spy TV shows, The Avengers, James Bond. So they were taking me to places like Istanbul before I even knew how to spell Istanbul. Right? So I knew these places before, so I want to take people that don't have passports on a journey.
I love that. You're astral traveling, plus you're a world music lover. I mean, you know music all over the world. Same here. I mean, a lot of our fans like music from different countries, and you're kind of traveling through the art, right? And I do that sometimes just sitting around. I mean, this is what I think about. I try to take my mind beyond what's in front of me,
Right.
and open myself up to these opportunities. So I love what you're talking about. I'm really enjoying what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's funny because there's nothing like buying a record from a country of origin. Right? Like, yeah, we can all sit online and order records, but there's something about going to a country of origin and buying the records from the country of origin.
Yeah.
Nothing like it in the world.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I went digging in Sao Paulo,
Mhm.
and yeah, I got some good records. Not the best records, but I
Mhm.
still hold them close because it was such an experience. I mean, it's good music. It's not Arthur Verocai, whatever. It's still great, and the feeling it reminds me of everything: the sights, the sounds,
Yep.
the food. Just like, trying to get a hold of this huge city and this unbelievable place. And yeah, it means a
Yeah,
lot.
it's not about having the most rare records or anything. It's about the memory of how you got that record. Where were you at? What time? Was it summer? Was it winter? What did you do beforehand? Did you get a beer afterhand? Did did you stumble upon it? Or did somebody tell you about the record shop you went to? All those things. Because it's all about discovery. It's all about the journey. So there's just so much. And like some people might think, oh, that's too deep. You can just order online. But that firsthand experience of being someplace and buying something, it's priceless.
I love it. We're taking a little mental journey on this one. I think it's fun. I think it's fun. You described so many really interesting phases. Creatively, they have been successful. Business wise, they've been successful. But what I'll say is you're rolling from new phase to new phase,
Mhm.
from 10-year-old battle DJ losing in Philadelphia to countless wins, producing, DJing for great artists. I'm sure there's a lot more stories in there that we might have skipped over. To now, you're the nostalgia king, traveling all over the world. I love to see it, brother. I think it's great.
Yeah, and so and to touch on the DJ portion, so my site nostalgiaking.com, you know, I'm still making and breaking records, right? I'm reviewing and writing about records from all of the independent labels, all the independent funk, soul, you know, reissue labels. I'm one of the reasons why a lot of these records get into DJs' hands, because I'm reviewing these records and people are looking at the site and being like, I need that. I need that. You know, in addition, I'm playing these records out. You know, I'm the only person that's doing that. Like, some DJs get records and they play it in the club first. I'm getting records, I'm writing about it first, months before, and I'm playing it. You know, so I'm really the anomaly when it comes to like culture and putting it out there, because I wanted, you know, great DJs before me were making and breaking records. They weren't holding it up, like they were making and breaking records.
You're doing it a new way. You're doing it a new way because, I mean, we're talking about funk music. It's from the 70s. You happen to be an expert in it, but you're sharing the knowledge and you're celebrating sometimes new artists in that sound or reissues. You're bringing it up and you're popularizing it to all kind of new people from different
Mhm.
countries, different ages. There could be a 15-year-old kid now discovering this music and be like, it's the best. That's
So
good.
so to that point right there, this was 2012, I want to say. I'm in St. Petersburg, Russia, playing this party with the OG Mr. Chalk, who's like the first funk soul DJ out in Russia. And I'll never forget, I'm playing this club, and it was like a class trip of like American students at this club. And I'm playing James Brown. I'm playing James Brown, and these two black kids run up to me and they're like, "Yo, what are you doing here? What kind of music is this? This is amazing." Right? Here you are, two black kids in Russia seeing a black DJ in Russia. So I was like, "Give me 5 minutes. I'm almost finished my set. I'll come over and talk to you." So I was like, "Yo, where you guys from?" And the one kid said he was from Ohio. The other one was from Virginia. And I was like, "Yo, and you don't know what this music is? Ohio, Virginia produced some of the greatest funk soul music." But there was a lapse in the generation somewhere where they just didn't get it. But they were so impressed by this music and the fact that there was a black DJ playing this music, right? So I'm hipping people. But the crazy thing about this is there isn't a lot of people in America playing deep funk and soul. There's a nice amount, right? There's very few black DJs playing funk soul in America, right? Black
Yeah.
music, very few,
Yeah.
right? There's one black DJ from America that's playing funk soul globally. That's me.
I think that's good. It's authentic to you,
Mhm.
right? And people can feel it, right? So I think that's amazing. I like that story about those kids too.
Yeah, that was like, I gotta find that picture because I took a picture with them. Like, I gotta find it because it was just crazy. I was like, okay, here's this school trip, and you're in Russia of all places, and I was just like, okay. And the way they rushed up to the DJ booth was like the excitement was through the roof. It was like, yo, what are you doing here? What is this music you're playing? And they were like, yo. I was like, yo, give me a couple minutes. I'll come talk to you guys. You know.
That is amazing. So I mean, I feel like you have so many stories like this. I'm gonna play a game with you.
Hmm.
I always have this segment. I never named it. I'm gonna name it now. It's called Drop a Gem on them.
Hmm.
We're gonna talk about records, music. I might throw in a couple movies. And it's meant to be a word association game. So whatever comes to mind, your personal experience, personal story, really anything.
Hmm.
Let's start with Telephone Break. Last Night Changed It All, Esther Williams.
Classic, classic breakbeat, classic park jam break. Um, Funny story. we used to just call it the telephone break. And I found out about it from my OG. But the crazy thing is, the first person in Philly that played that record was this DJ named King Quality, right? I found out about him through my OG. And my OG DJ Groove he was the Bambaataa of Philly. He knew all of the breaks. So King Quality lived in my neighborhood, but he was from New York. And he brought that record down to Philly.
That's awesome. I
Right?
love to hear this OG talk.
So yeah, so King Quality, he brought that record to Philly. But that's classic. That's that record. That's a timeless record. With the bells and without the telephone.
All right. Feel like you've played this a few times in your life. I'm going to jump around. By the way, this is not in any chronological order. It's in order. It's just all dope shit out of order. Bahamadia collage album song, True Honey Buns.
True Honey Buns, classic, video classic, club classic. No one, male or female, was making songs like that. She's the only one that could have done that in that particular way. And that was a beautiful era in Philly, but hip hop wise in general, because it was very black, it was very powerful, it was very soulful, but it was hip hop, and the production was crazy and it banged, So yeah, that whole album, she's never dropped a bad album.
I think that song is especially good. A good album, and that song stood out to me because the way her voice was so in the pocket, it was kind of an empty song. And Premier, one of the greatest ever, was in such a zone at that point where it's like he left a lot of space for her beautiful voice, and she just flowed in this kind of pocket. It's like a hypnotic vibe. I really, really like that record.
She's a true artist. She's not just a rapper or an MC. She's a true artist because she knows how to fill that space. Because that beat was very sparse. It had a lot of space in it, but she knew how to cover ground in that. She was a true artist on hearing the music and being like, I know exactly what to do to this to give it life.
Yeah, it's a great collaboration there between two artists at a high point at that time. KRS-One, Return of the Boom Bap album. I'll name one song. It really could be many good songs off that album. Higher Level.
So fond memory of that album because I was in D&D studio during the time they was recording that.
Sick.
Right? So I used to hang out with my homie, Chris Ramos. Chris Ramos was road manager for KRS. He was road manager for Wise Intelligent, for Righteous Teachers, road manager for Common for a while, I think. He was road manager for a few people. He was, I think, one of the first times Dilla went to Amsterdam, Ramos took him to Amsterdam. But I'm hanging out with Ramos because this is during the 90 to 95 era. And we would go to D&D while KRS was recording, Return of the Boom Bap album. So I'm hearing it firsthand. I still have the cassette tape from the board of the songs that they recorded on cassette. So that was a very great time because wild thing is he was in one studio, Black Moon was in the other room recording the end of the stage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so a lot of that time period, I was going to New York probably 5 times a week during that era. Parties, studio, and shopping deals, trying to shop deals at independent labels.
Okay. That album in particular, KRS-One had a long career, one of the greatest rappers of all time, one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time, and many, many classic albums. So Criminal Minded, maybe the most influential because it kind of made things from an old school to new, kind of made it modern because he was so sophisticated with his rapping. And then so when you're with a guy that's so high level, it's just a matter of like, what's your favorite? This happens to be my favorite because I was around observing it as it came out, plus DJ Premier, who I talk about in every episode. My favorite. The album was cohesive because it had different kinds of tracks. It took you through a journey of super hard beats and then like more smooth beats. And I think the KRS One, he never fell off. He
Nope.
was at a high level with modern beats. That's how I
Yeah.
describe this album.
Yeah. And so like for me, like when you hear the song, like I love Brown Skin Woman, but when you hear that song, how does he open up? He's like, Philly in the house.
There you go. It's
So,
personal to you. You were there. You were around. I would say extremely important music. That's what I
yeah,
call it.
during that time, and then being at D&D studio, you know, where the greats recorded, you know, that was a great time.
All right, let's take it to Black Moon. So I'll name two tracks that are kind of related. Two remixes. I Got You Open remix and Buck 'Em Down remix. What do those mean to you?
Those are mixtape classics, club classics. Because yes, the originals were good, but those remixes, I Got You Open, and then Bucktown, the bass lines, the production style, that whole era for me, the production style was grimy, and you know, Beat Miners was the grime was there, the sound, the way it muffled, like ruffled in your speakers in the car, and like you know, that was an amazing era. But both of those were such amazing remixes because that was the remix era. Like, yeah, we liked the originals, but when you heard how somebody flipped the B side and put the remix on it, and it was just like, oh, they sampled that, you know, and that was very influential years. Like, because if we didn't have those years, we wouldn't be here digging for what we were digging for in the present.
They made those records famous. I mean, they may have been known to OGs. They made them famous to a whole new generation, right? Generations like me, right? So that's when I first heard a lot of those Donald Byrd records. That's when I first heard Wind Parade,
Red
and then it
Parade,
made me realize, oh, this is the greatest music in the world, and I've become obsessed ever since.
yes,
Uh,
and like even Wind Parade, like I carry that 12-inch out with me all the time
you have a
because
12-inch Wind Parade?
Wind
That's
Parade
even
12-inch is the UK 12-inch. Like I carry Wind Parade out with me all the time. And that's I think Wind Parade is what, like an 8-minute song or something like that. It's like a long song. And I will let that breathe. I will play that record opening my night or whatever, and I'll let that record breathe. Because that's such a beautiful record. But that's what hip hop did for us. Hip hop took us from hearing music that our parents was hip to us thinking was funky to sample, to going forward to being like, man, this is just music now we listen to the way that our parents listened to. You
you
know,
got it.
hip hop was always the training ground for everything, you know, and it's wild because like library music, like early 90s when everybody was sampling library, I didn't know what library music was, right? Like I didn't know that's what it was called. I didn't know about library records. But what I did know was all of that music that everybody's sampling, I have all of the TV shows from the UK on VHS that I recorded off of TV. So I'm hearing all of the samples on my tapes. So I'm taping, I'm sampling from VHS. Me and my OG was sampling from VHS from the library stuff because that's where it was at. I didn't know library records because I'm like, oh, that's that sample. That's Alan Hawkshaw. Oh yeah, but that's on the UK British TV show The Professionals. You know,
That's a sick connection. I also think sampling from TV shows is dope, right? Um I think MF Doom did it at such an extremely high level that
Mhm.
people don't even understand. Was like I barely understand his motivation
Right?
until I mean I read a book about it recently, fantastic book, uh, and just realized this guy's watching these TV shows over and over, and he's finding the break in them. He's making them dope. So
And
it's
and that's what I'm saying. Like because my OG was sampling on VHS probably since 86, 87.
Sick.
He was, and at that time it wasn't sampling. It was like, I'm just going to play it and I'm going to catch it here. You know, it was like, it wasn't like we no sampling now. He would just play it and then catch it on the 4-track at the appropriate time. So he was doing that early. So when I started sampling off of VHS, 87, 88, 89, we're already TV, because we're like the TV show kings. Like, we're watching all of the cop show TV shows. We're watching all of the spy flicks. We're watching all of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons because they had funky soundtracks. And I want to give a shout out too to another guy who was heavy on the movies and the soundtracks and the libraries. Danny Dan, the Beat Man from Dusty
Tell me about
Fingers.
this person.
So Danny doesn't get enough credit in this world. For those that don't know, Dusty Fingers was like the new wave of like the Ultimate Breaks and Beats. Ultimate Breaks and Beats basically comped with the Bronx DJs and the Park Jam DJs was doing. Shouts to Breakbeat Lenny, because Lenny is the guy, you know. And shouts to Breakbeat Lou. But Danny Dan, DJ, was a heavy film lover because I interviewed him 15 years ago. Danny's mom was taking him to the movies to see these foreign films. So he was seeing and hearing the scores and the library music that was being played, right? But he was also a heavy movie collector and TV show collector and VHS collector, right? So we're cut from the same cloth, you know. But Danny was the record guy because he started in the 70s. Danny had the breaks. He was one of the kings of digging, right? One of the kings of digging back then. He was also a graffiti writer. He's got pictures of trains he's bombed, right? He was the spectrum. He is the guy.
I'm glad you're bringing him up. The name rings a bell, and now that you said he did Dusty Fingers, it all makes sense.
Yes, because the Dusty Fingers took the next level. Ultimate Breaks was all the classics that everybody had used and sampled or whatever, and the Bronx DJs was playing. Danny Dan took all of the library stuff that nobody had comped. And he took the library and he took, some of the psych rock stuff, the stuff that wasn't touched. And the only people that had those records were the library collectors. And during that time, the library collectors were not hip hop guys. The library collectors were library movie film guys.
You're dropping gems. Let's keep going. Eddie Hazel, Frantic Moment. Also California Dreaming. Same album. Game, Dames, and Guitar Thanks.
Right. So first and foremost, I'm a visual guy. That cover, right? Like, I will buy records sometimes just because the cover's just fresh.
Cover's ill.
Right? And once again, that's something we don't get in the modern era. We don't get the guy who painted a canvas or a photo and then had it photocopied to an album cover. Analog means, right? So that's the first attraction. Because I remember seeing that record years ago when my ear wasn't in tuned to that record. Because that was like adult music, But I would see it at my OG's house. I would see it in a record store. Fast forward, that album, California Dreamin', like, that's a great classic.
It's deep funk. I believe he is a bassist for Parliament.
Yep.
And it highlights a lot of what he does. I mean, it's his album. And it is fantastic. It's complex. It's super funky. And it's dope as hell. One of my all-time favorites. And also, like you said, that cover, when I bought it, I felt like $1 million. I was like, this is the best. I'm so excited. And I wanted it for long. It's just such a feeling.
That's such an amazing feeling when you pick up something and you finally have it and you just look at it and you're like, yes, I finally scored this. That's one of those records.
One of the prizes of my collection, not due to rarity, because I just love it.
Right. It's not about rarity. Like, a lot of people get caught up in rarity. Has to be good. Has to be good first and foremost. Right? Like, so rarity aside, some of my favorite and best records are not the rarest records. They're just records that I can drop the needle on and listen to from front to back, or it brings back a memory or something like that.
It's so nice of you to say. I have a feeling you have a few rare ones too. So
God.
maybe a few, maybe a few. All right. Ninth creation album, Falling in Love.
Classic, Falling in Love classic, Bubblegum classic,
Right.
like the whole album. I got hip to that album. I feel like how a lot of people got hip to that early '90s. The hip hop guys,
Artifact.
the diggers, the artifact, right? That's where I got hip to that album, and it was the album I would see in Philly at this spot called Plastic Fantastic, which was like a legendary spot. But I didn't buy it back then because once again, I've always been the type of person where if somebody sampled it, I don't want to buy that album. Right. So I passed up on a lot of good records cheap because I didn't want to buy it because I'm in sample mode. I'm not DJ mode. I'm in sample mode. And if there was nothing on there for me to sample and it's already been used, I'm passing up on it.
Interesting. I see that. I had that. Let's say I was aware of that mentality,
Hmm.
but I still bought stuff because it could be something on the other side or another song.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking in
Yeah.
those terms because I'm thinking about what can I use that nobody else has used.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the mentality. I'm aware of that. Like people will be like, oh, I'm not sampling that same record. Maybe I'll sample something by the same artist on another record.
Now I'm like, oh, I should have bought that for $7.99, because now you're paying 50 for it later on.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Maybe even
but,
more than that.
but in that era, like you only had but so much money, and you had to
Sure.
stretch your money. Now it's just like, oh, I just buy it. I don't care. I just buy it. Like I don't sleep on anything now because everything that you sleep on today will cost you tomorrow.
Yeah. It sounds like someone's been collecting records for a long time. Uh, Another song on that album, we spoke about the artifacts, right? So that's Bubblegum, unbelievable song, unbelievable open bass line, and it's just great. It's just a great song.
Hmm.
Another song, maybe less known than Bubblegum, called Rule of the Mind on
Hmm.
that album. It is
Hmm.
deep. I don't want to call it all samples, but let's just say sampled by another group we talked about today.
Right.
And it is a deep funk song and quite like even lyrically quite a deep song. So I recommend anyone check that out.
And now as an adult, I listen to the lyrics now. Before it was like you hear them, but you're not really listening because you're listening to the music. Now I'm listening to the lyrics because what's going on in the world politically, socially, those lyrics from 1972, 3, 4, 5, 6 are more relevant now, kind of than they were then,
Yeah.
right? So that's the music that's inspiring me, is the music that has that message in it.
If only there were Marvin Gaye to save us all today.
Bro, it's I have this conversation all the time about artists today, humans today aren't the same as humans in the 70s or 60s. The struggle is still real. 60s and 70s, people was fighting the struggle. Now we've got so much technology and so much convenience and so much everything that, like, if it's not affecting us, then we're not really stepping out of our house to deal with social things. But then I feel like there was a certain pride and upliftment in people, whatever demographic you come from. There was a certain pride and upliftment that was going on, which it's not reflective of the music today. You know,
Yeah.
where's our Marvin Gaye? Where's our James Brown? Where's Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud? Where's all this? We don't have that today. So I miss that. I miss that in the music.
I believe in young people, and I think maybe those cycles will come around again. When you think about the conscious hip hop era, I mean, it went on for years, and there's even rappers that went on after that who were maybe born in that era. They've always
Mhm.
had this thread of having their political views or trying to bring each other up, or just being intelligent people. Maybe that'll come around too, right?
I hope so because we need it. Honestly, we need it because the the power is always in the music. The power is always in the message. Just like I feel like we need zines again. We need those political zines. That's what made punk zines, and that's what made all these counterculture zines important, and that's what spread the message around. Because like you're getting censored on social media, you're getting your algorithm is whatever. Those zines is what got the message around. Those Black Panther newspapers, that's what got the message around.
Hey man, the future's in the past. You never know. Let's see what
Always.
happens next, right? Let's keep going. Okay, this is a record that very few people in the world have. So, whoever's listening, feel free to look it up. Thesda Spaced Out album.
Shout outs to my man Mike Wallace, Henry Go Forth, because he has that record.
You kidding me? Mike was on this show.
Mike,
we should have talked about that. That's crazy.
Mike has that. Supreme, LaRock has that. Of course, Supreme has it. Of course he does. Why wouldn't Supreme have it? Yeah, that's a hard one to catch. I think I've only seen it one time out in the real world. Probably couldn't afford it at that time. Nor would I want to afford it. Like that's a record that's just like, I'm not even going to break the bank on this.
We're talking about, for our listeners, thousands and thousands of dollars. And money aside, I mean, it's a private press in a regional area. I think it's from Ohio or the Midwest somewhere. I mean, it's not meant for people to have originals of all that, even deep diggers like Skeme Richards. It's just unlikely, and it costs thousands. However, one of the benefits of this world is you could go and check it out in the digital world. It is an excellent, excellent record. There's a song called Holding Back, which is unbelievable, mind-blowing soul with a crescendo that goes on for minutes. And it's like you're on a high. And this record, it's like, I remember driving around listening to this, just like pumping my fist. This is unbelievable music. I cannot recommend it enough.
It's funny you say that, because that being on a high, hearing something that you have to rewind multiple times because it's just so powerful. Like, that's one of those records. I went through a spell at one time where I was listening to what's the name of it? Right On Be Free. Harlem what's the name of the band? It's the all-female band.
Something Choir, Harlem Choir.
Yeah, I'm so
Harlem Underground Choir.
Yeah, it's but Right On Be Free. And I was going through something, and I was listening to that song like every day, because it was like okay, Right On Be Free. Like it was probably like 10 years ago, and it was just, that record was a daily day starter for me. Yeah. So those records like that Thesda, like that's one of those powerful records where you listen to and you're on the high, and you're like, okay, you're driving around the city and like rewind.
Hey, maybe us talking about this stuff will get across to some of the people listening, and they'll have the same feeling.
Yeah.
The Mighty Gents, which is a 45, and I believe the song is also called The Mighty Gents. Tell me about this record.
Another staple in my sets, another classic in my set. It's another like end-of-nighter that I run with, or sometimes I open up the night with it. It's a Japan staple that you're always going to hear in Japan. Slow soul, just real chill. Mighty Gents are coming. It's ripe for sampling. It's the instrumentation is ripe for sampling, but it's just one of those records where like it's just got that groove to it. And it feels like the quiet storm at night. You listen to the radio at night, it just feels like that. But it's one of those records that like it's always in my sets, end of night or opening nights. And male vocals, amazing. And once again, the vocals, like I feel like people of today don't sing like people of yesterday. Right? Yeah. Like people sung. You grew up in a church, you learned how to sing. Now it's like people are on a mic, but they're not really singing per se.
It seems like they're worse, but I don't know why that is. Like, why are there good singers from the past? I mean, we have a whole collection of people from the 70s and 80s and 60s with beautiful, powerful voices. And the recording equipment, I mean, there was a lot more room for error. Like it was not,
Yes,
no one was fixing anything. Why do people suck at singing now? Because you think, I mean, many other things, like people are faster, people could dunk a basketball, people could shoot a three from half court. Why is this like a lot of the most popular artists? They're not always great singers. I don't know
they're
what's
not
up
great
with that.
singers. Like shout outs to people like Kelly Finnegan from Monophonics, um, amazing writer, composer, singer. Um, AJ and the Gigawatts, great singers. And then you have people like you had the Sharon Joneses, you had the Lee
Yeah.
Fields. They were singers. But they were also of that era. They were also grown men and women that might have grown up in the church or whatever. Now it's just like people just pick up singing as a hobby and then suddenly they get a record deal. But it's like singing's not a part of who they really are.
Yeah, maybe. And it could have something to do with the church that you mentioned. So many people learned how to be musicians there.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, definitely there are people who sing well, before it seemed to be more common.
Right. Like you
You
had the
remind
male groups, the doo-wop
Yeah.
and all the doo-wop. People, people, it's cold. We standing outside the fire in the trash can and we singing.
Yeah. I mean, it was more of a part of the culture. You know,
Right.
you reminded me of something. You mentioned Helsinki before and Finland, and I'm not sure if this guy is from Finland, but there's an artist with a great voice named Bobby Orza.
So he's on Timian Records, which is Helsinki, Finland. I want to say he's from Texas,
Okay.
California. I want to say he's from Texas or California, but he's on the Finland label. He's on Timian Records.
Great voice, great sound.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But I feel like everyone that works with Timian Records can sing.
They got a good recording style. I mean, it's like it's sounds old yet not only a throwback. I mean, it's quite really well written song.
Yeah, like I've been to the Timian Studios multiple times, and it's like it's the official analog. They know how to cut, master, record. Like they know how to do it right. So everything they do is always going to be solid.
Why am I surprised you heard of him? Right?
Yeah,
We're going all over the map. We're talking about private presses from the '70s, and we're talking about new records. You never cease to amaze me. The third guitar, "Baby Don't Cry."
man, main source, large professor. That's what you think of first. Main source, large professor. It's a record that's always in my set because it's a classic. Um, Shout outs to Diamond D because I remember reading an interview with Diamond like back in the 90s, and he listed his or it was 90s, early 2000s, and he listed his top 545s, and of course, third guitar was in there. Like that is classic staple. Shout outs to Kev Darge because Kev was one of the first people to play that record. Um, that's just like it's the classic. But main source, that's main source. That's Large Professor. When we think about that record, we think of Large Professor, main source.
I'm glad you mentioned. Firstly, Large Fester. I'm a huge fan. I mean, that's obvious, right? Uh, on the show, we talk about him a lot, so I'm not gonna go into it again. I'm glad you mentioned Kev Darge. He put out some compilations in the must have been the '90s that really showed me a whole world of funk that I had no idea about. I mean, probably because they're massively rare, but he put out some ridiculous comps. Really good.
Kev Darge, the term deep funk would not exist without Kev Darge, Greg Belson, Snowboy, like the term, because that's their term. It's not a genre. It was a party that they had,
Okay.
right? That they called and it was like kind of a joke, really. It wasn't right. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're going to coin the term deep funk. It was just that was the party, deep funk. And then what they were playing became known as deep funk records. So you had the classics, like you had the Park Jam breakbeats. They were known as the classics. Those were the classics. Kev and those guys were playing the third guitars. They were playing the Sil Johnsons. They were playing the whatever funk, the Second Amendment band, the groups like that. And those records became known as deep funk records because they were being played at the deep funk party.
You're really schooling me. I had no idea. I've been walking around using that phrase deep funk as like a descriptor of music.
Well, we all do. We all do. But like, it's definitely a coining of certain funk 45s. And yes, there's other ones that jump in there, but like deep funk was like these rare funk 45s that was only available on 45. They weren't on LP, they weren't on 12 inches because it was a 45 7-inch single. So those were the deep funk. It goes with the same thing as there's no genre really called rare groove.
Yeah.
Rare groove became known in the rare groove scene, and certain records became known as rare groove records because they were played in the rare groove scene.
Makes
Just
sense
like
to me.
just like deep funk. But we call these records rare groove, or we call these records deep funk because they fit what Kev and those guys were playing.
An artist that I remember learning from that, Patty Joe.
Patty Joe, yes.
Pretty dope.
Yes.
Pretty dope.
And Kev was important for breaking a lot of that music and playing a lot of that music.
I mean,
He's the OG.
and this is, are we talking London?
We're talking London. Yeah, they were doing I forgot the original club night. They were doing the original club, but when it really blew up, they were playing at Madame Jojo's, the spot in the UK. And during that time, I think Kev had like every Friday night or something. And Madame Jojo's was it. Like I remember going to Madame Jojo's early 2000s, and it was still rocking in there.
So now that you're explaining it this way, I guess I'll ask a question. I know the sound and I use the term modern soul. What does the term modern soul mean to you?
So it's crazy with modern soul because there's modern soul, which is like that 80s-ish era. But then there's artists that's making new music now that fits that 80s era, which is considered modern soul. So some people would say modern soul is being made today, when modern soul was just then. And I don't even know if the term modern soul existed when that music was new, because it was just soul.
I don't think so. I
Right?
think it's a new term for a certain style of old record.
Right. Like early 2000s, I was going to the Netherlands and I was buying Dutch modern soul. There was nobody really buying Dutch modern soul in America. I was buying Dutch modern soul. But it was just that 80s, it was modern soul. It was soul, but it was classified as modern soul. So it's just weird. It's the same with when you hear people say low rider soul. No, it's just soul music.
Yeah.
Right? It's most of it, 99% of it is black soul music. It's just soul music. Right? So we put these terms on things. Like there's no such thing as a hip hop record, except for rap records that was made. Right? But when we say like, oh, Bob James, that's a hip hop record. No, it's a jazz record that we made hip hop, but it's not a hip hop record. Right?
I hear you. Yeah, it's definitely a jazz record that was so dope that it inspired tons of rap.
Exactly. So it's interesting how we give these labels. Some of them stick, some of them lose its course and gets changed around. Like when people say hip hop today, I'm like, no, it's rap today. It's not really hip hop because hip hop is 4 elements and that doesn't represent 4 elements.
Yeah.
So the deep funk, rare groove, modern soul, it's kind of weird, but like we need to be able to have a finger to point and be like, that's what that is. Because then
it's a way to communicate. I'm not sure if someone like a teenager now would understand any of that.
Right.
But it's a way to communicate. I mean, people find their own way. There's always new generations making dope shit in different ways, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about rare groove, which is one of my favorite, let's say, styles of R&B or funk or soul. I mean, it's its own world. Nuban.
Classic. So one of my favorite rare groove albums was Mighty Riders.
Okay. Evil
Right?
Vibrations.
Yes. Nuban is probably my second in that category. Or actually, it could flip flop. It could be 1 and 2 and 2 and 1. But that Nuban album, which was Nuban is New Bond is really um New Bond is somebody else. New Bond eventually became, if you can look that up,
It's okay. Keep going. I'll look it up.
Yeah, New Bond eventually became somebody else that we know. This
Atlantic Star.
Atlantic Star.
Both good.
Yeah. So New Bond, which they had 2 albums, 1 and 2, which was on the Guinness label, which was a bootleg label, really. It was a tech scam label. They became Atlantic Star, which a lot of people don't know.
I didn't know. I mean, you're
Yeah.
blowing my mind.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I like New Band more than I like Atlantic Star.
Atlantic Star's pretty good too.
Atlantic Star's good, but it's polished. It's 80s polished good, right? New Bond was funky. It was raw. It was that other side, that thing that like diggers want.
Yeah.
Right?
It's that rare groove. For sure. For sure, it's that rare groove. What, Atlantic Star? It's more of a popular 80s style.
Right. So yeah, so that for me, that New Bond album is solid. That's another album that is always in the crate when I travel, because it has multiple joints on there that I can play.
Yeah. It's unbelievable end-to-end album. Great instrumentation, just deep.
Yeah. And New Bond 2 is just as good.
The Jackson Sisters, I Believe in Miracles.
B-Boy classic, Funk 45 classic, Deep Funk classic. Once again, tax scam label. The LP is super duper rare, super duper expensive. Jackson Sisters, amazing, very underrated. Very, people don't talk about them. And I did a little bit of research and homework on it. And funny thing was, I kind of covered Jackson Sisters on my website and just gave them their flowers. The niece of Pat Jackson emailed me one day because she somehow saw my article, whether, she Googled herself or whatever, and told me about her aunt, Pat Jackson. So I got a lot of this scoop on the Jackson Sisters during that time, which I don't know why no one's ever tried to track them down.
It's amazing.
So, there's not really much press or anything about them, but I actually have some articles where they were on Bill Cosby's show, because Bill Cosby used to host shows like live performances. So I've got photos of Bill Cosby on stage introducing them.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, Bill is influential for a lot of things, because there's Blaxploitation films or Black films that couldn't get funded that Bill gave money to. Right? Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, The Spook Who Just Sat by the Door. Like, Bill was the wealthy Black man who, when somebody made the phone call, was like, hey, I'm trying to do this movie and I can't get funding, Bill wrote the $50,000 check.
Sweetback Badass Song is wild. First of all,
Oh,
wild movie.
Yes.
Great soundtrack.
Yes. So just think about that. And I feel like that's what we don't have also going on this time, is the one guy or the group of guys that are wealthy, that somebody can make the phone call and say, hey, I'm trying to shoot this Black film. I need a little help with it. And they're writing the check.
Fair point. Let's stay in the film world.
Yeah.
Isaac Hayes, Truck Turner film and album. I mean, the whole thing, but I'll name one song, Blues Crib.
Blues Crib is great.
Yeah.
Blues Crib is great. But the hip hop classic, the hip hop break, which is Breakthrough, that's the hip hop. You slow it down to 33 or speed up to 45, which most people played at 45. But for me, and playing it in the club and like closing my eyes and sing a scene, Pursuit of the Pimpmobile.
Dude, you really do like this record.
Yes. Yes.
I gotta re-listen to those other ones.
Pursuit of the Pitmobile and Breakthrough.
I
Yes.
mean, how could Pursuit of the Pitmobile not be good?
Exactly.
I watched the movie too. It's insane. I think Isaac Hayes is such a character. He's a genius whose success went on for decades.
Yes.
And I think he could be more celebrated. I mean, he's pretty famous. He's pretty popular. I mean, he's passed away, obviously. But I just think he's an icon that maybe can get some more credit. I really
Do
love
you,
his music.
do you follow his son
No, I
on
don't.
Instagram? Isaac Hayes the third, I think, is what the Instagram is. So his son is carrying on his legacy because his son controls the estate. His son actually built a social media app just like Instagram called Fanbase. So yeah, his son is very into black media and getting people to start black media and get and putting your money into certain things. So yeah, he's a good person to follow.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I mean, his father is a genius,
He's a
all-time
genius.
genius. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's stay in the film world, also the music world. La Planète Sauvage, aka the Fantastic Planet. Oh man.
Yo, that's a great classic for diggers, right? That's sample classic, right? Psych out. You're high watching this movie, animation movie from the 70s. French, right? Um, it's a wild. That's one of those movies where you had to be high watching that movie.
Yeah. I mean, whoever made it had to have been massively high.
But I love that about that era because people made those type of movies. We wouldn't have got half of what we got. The best music came out of the struggle. You were drinking or you were smoking.
Yeah.
The best music, the best movies came out of that.
It's a surrealist masterpiece. It's just mind-bending. Watching it is quite intense. Like, it's quite a tense thing for a cartoon, and it's got this crazy animation style it's somehow jarring. You're like, oh, someone's about to get crushed. It was wild, and the
Yeah.
music is just insanely good. It is the best.
So I have the original VHS to that. I have the original VHS. I have the actual poster. I have the Japanese poster of it. Classic favorite. That's in the category of like these will always be watched. That'll be a late night watch that I'm just putting this on.
Yeah. When I was prepping for the show, I knew you'd like that one. I found that the person who made that soundtrack, Alain Goragour, who I've never heard of, but apparently he worked heavily with Serge Gainsbourg. He was his pianist and did a lot of the production for him, which makes sense because he's also dope.
But that's that era of musical geniuses. There was nobody like him. That's why a lot of things are regurgitated now, but there was only one Lalo Schifrin. There was only one Dave Grusin. There was only one, like all these people. There was only one Alan Hawkshaw. There was only one of all of these people. Right now, there's a lot of the same people because everybody's trying to duplicate what's going on. Versus back then, it was like, yo, I'm just spending hours in the studio. A guy who's like that, Sean Wolcott.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Sean Wolcott.
No.
Sean Wolcott is from Washington State, so he's like right outside of Seattle. He is the modern day composer who does a slew of these like library albums that are so authentic that you would think they were in the 70s and the 60s, but he's doing them today. They're packaged correctly. The cover art looks like it's a library. He does different themes. He's incredible. He is, to me, he's the go-to guy now for that. And his whole studio is analogs. Everything is correct.
Say his name again.
Sean, Sean, Wolcott, Wolcott.
Thanks for putting me on, as always. I mean, I'm not surprised. You've taught me a lot of stuff. I'll name one more film this time. I don't always bring up films, but I know you're a movie guy.
Yeah.
The Man Who Stole the Sun, 1979.
Japanese,
Yes.
right? Before we touch on that, I actually just did commentary on a Blu-ray release for another Japanese film called The Proof of a Man.
Okay, I'll peep it. Tell
Right?
me about it.
Keep in mind, we're just keeping with the film. We'll get back to the Japanese. So we're in Japanese mode. So, Proof of a Man was a movie. It was a Japanese American collaboration shot in Japan and shot in Harlem and Manhattan during 1977. Right. The soundtrack was done by Yuji Ono. Yuji Ono was legendary composer. He did Lupin. He did all of the jazz funk albums that everybody tries to buy now. Legendary composer. The lead actor is the lead of a Japanese psych band called the Flower Traveling Band, right? Joe Yamanaka, who's Japanese and black, born in Japan. So
That's
he's got
rare.
an accent.
By the way, that's rare today. Imagine back
That's
then.
correct today. Yes. So the movie feels like it feels like a blaxploitation without being a blaxploitation because it's like more of a mystery drama. The fashion is very New York 1970s. When you go to Japan, it's Japan 1970. Like it's just that. It's a cop detective movie. Soundtrack is funky, fashion's funky, cars are funky, the club bar scene's funky, right? So I got approached by a homie who is a Japanese film historian, a Japanese culture historian, and he knew that I'm the film guy and I love Japan. So Arrow Video approached us about doing commentary for the upcoming Blu-ray release of The Proof of a Man. History on Joe Yamanaka, who's black and Japanese. When Bob Marley died, he was the lead of the Wailers.
This is wild, man. These connections are so wild. This film must
Okay,
be insane.
it's like a 70s cop shot. Somebody got killed. Oh, there's a murder. Okay, we need to figure this out. Racism, right? So Joe Yamanaka was known for doing a lot of charity work. And so he would go to like different countries and just donate his time to help countries and help, the people. So he was known around. So he went to Jamaica after he was good friends with Bob Marley. So he went to Jamaica and became the lead of the Wailers after Bob died.
That's
But he
wild.
was in a psych rock band called the Flower Traveling Band, which is probably like an $800 record, rare. And it's got the motorcycle riders naked, like the on the cover, like it's Japan, 1970s. It's like it's raw.
And he
So
was a star of the film?
he was the star of the film. He was the star of the film where the concept was his father was a black GI in Japan, had a kid. They left and came to America, lived in Harlem. When he got older, he was trying to find his mother. So he went to Japan to find his mother. And the mother's like, oh, you can't mess up my situation. Because once again, the mixed race thing just wasn't flying. So she's like, you can't mess up my thing. Because she was a fashion designer. So she was doing all these amazing like fashion shows and designing clothes. Her husband he wasn't the mayor, but he was like a congressman or something in Japan. And no one knew about this kid. So she was like, you can't mess up my situation. So fast forward, he winds up getting killed mysteriously. And so now they're trying to figure out, to track down, like, all right, how did this kid come from Harlem to Japan? What's the lineage? What's going on? Why was he killed? What's the connection? They find out, like, oh, that was his mother. And she wasn't trying to have her situation messed up. So it's a great movie. Soundtrack is ridiculous. Everything.
It sounds dope. Also, it's really great that they brought you in for that. I'm glad to just see these let's say, unexpected opportunities for you? I mean, maybe it's
Yeah.
expected to you, but I think it's a cool connection.
No, it's unexpected because I've always had the gift and the curse of like an opportunity presents itself and then disappears, or it falls through, or budget runs out, or so. I've always had these. So for me to get these opportunities now, I'm like amazing. Like I can check it off resume.
I love that. I like to see that. I like to see that. Like I said, you keep rolling through different phases.
Mhm.
I'll ask again about the man who
Again,
stole the sun. Yeah, let's bring us back because I feel like we went on a really good tangent. But yeah,
yeah. Once again, classic Japanese who made amazing films during that era. That was 1979, I think it was.
yeah,
Um, and it's atomic bomb situation, school teacher,
yeah,
you know, it just fits that time period. There was something about Japan, atomic bombs, and school teacher, and you're going to hold Tokyo hostage. Like it was something about film at that time, and the Japanese made Blaxploitation in America and Japanese films hand in hand, hand in
yeah,
hand.
yeah. I found out about that movie maybe 6 months ago. There's a DVD store, and the guy advised me to check it out. So that's why in-person visits are good. I was like, tell me, put me on to something I don't know. He's like, you got to check this out. It's
See,
amazing.
and that's what I'm saying. Like that, there's something about getting out of your house, off of Discogs, off of eBay, going to a record show, a record store, a video store, a magazine store, a physical media store, and getting hip to something you didn't know about, right? Because for me, the way I found discovered so much stuff, like I don't have a list. I have a mental list of like, oh, what I want or what I'm looking for. But there's a lot of stuff. I'll walk into a store or a dealer might know me and they'll be like, what are you looking for? And I'll just tell them, I don't know, hit me to something. Because I prefer to get the stuff that I'm not hip to
Yeah.
than what I am hip to. Because I've gotten so many discoveries from other people's knowledge.
Yeah, I think it's important that you talk to other people, you ask some questions, you build off of each other. And you today have shared so much knowledge. I mean, I've learned a lot. The people who listen to this podcast are going to be like, man, I got to look that up. I will ask you one last question, and the answer could really be anything. What excites you about the future?
um, Meeting new people, right? Like DJing has taken me around the world. I've made friends with a lot of people. I've made connections with a lot of people. Meeting people, meeting good humans first and foremost is really what's keeping me going, right? I'm excited about the future to be introduced to something new, to experience something new. Um, because nothing's promised. Tomorrow's not promised, right? But I'm looking forward to tomorrow for these opportunities and these experiences and meeting good humans because good humans always seem to find a way to connect, and we need more good humans in the world, right? So I'm just trying to connect with all these people and connect the dots of like-minded people who are into the same things, and we can build something amazing out of this. Like you built gems, and you've connected a lot of great people, right? You've got the artists on, and you've got the viewers on, and everyone's connected. And I think that's so important right now. It's more important now than it's ever been important. We need that, So for me, the future, I'm excited about the future of meeting people, being on this podcast with you today. Like I know we've met in face to face, but having this long conversation is like, yeah, okay. It's like we've known each other for years now,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I appreciate that, Scheme. You are certainly a good person, a great person to talk to. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for your time, brother.
Yo, thank you for having me, man. And I'll see you in Toronto at the next show. The next
Maybe I'll
break.
see you in New York, maybe in Philly, maybe in Tokyo. You never know,
Bro,
brother.
wherever you want to go, let's go.
All right. Peace.
Peace.